we have an extremely good segment where one, it's from one of my favorite authors, right? Daniel Priestley. Been talking about him for a while, and it got me excited when Moose started to bring him up. So, we're here now. We're here now.
Mhm.
But when we're talking about personal brand and we're talking about the monetization side, we found several clips that is going to help you to go from an idea to figure out what your market and what your niche is going to be, to figuring out your audience, to as well as figuring out how to product yourself. The first one, let's talk about the ideas. Like, you may have some really, really dope ideas as far as whether it is starting a business, whether it is creating some content, new products. And this is what he has to say about it.
There's this thing called proximity bias. Proximity bias is when you're too close to something to see its true value. So proximity bias is where your ideas are commonplace for you, your business is commonplace for you. Just to finish today on this idea that maybe you're sitting on a $45,000 Rolex that you just take for granted. Maybe there's an idea that you've got. Maybe there's a story. Maybe there's this tiny little piece of intellectual property. Maybe there's this little spark of creativity and you've been toying with an idea for a while. And maybe for you, you're seeing this thing as a 350-pound thing, and actually it's a 40,000-pound thing. And maybe you've got a little bit of proximity bias. I want to plant that seed that maybe the most incredible value that you've got to share with the world is actually something that's right on you right now.
Let me tell you, I have been, clearly, I'm just a victim this whole episode. This is just a victim of everything. I've been a victim of exactly what he said in kind of both ways, right? In a positive way and a negative way, right? Positive way of where I almost downplayed an idea. Like, it's not really worth it. It's not worth our time. We're not going to do it, right? To where when I started talking to other people, they're like, yo, that's fire. When are you going to do this? Right?
Mhm.
But I've also been a victim of that I'm too close to it, that I don't see the problems.
Mm.
Right?
The problems or the opportunity?
Both.
Mhm.
So there are times, because I'm a very confident human being, to where I'm like, yo, this is working. This is great. It just needs a little bit more time. Boom, boom, boom. To where it's like, yo, you're not seeing the gaps because you're too close to it. To where even like with Deeper Than the Brand, I had to bring in outside people because I was too close, right? And I also assumed that the people that I had start with were too close. So that I was like, yo, what's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on this? Like, okay, this is cool. The mission, the vision is cool. But this could probably change a bit. You probably should go this route. So, but because I'm too close, that's what I said, from a, I wouldn't say a negative side, but from not such a positive side, right? I've been too close to things, but really there has been some ideas that I realized that I sat on, period, just sat on. And when I expressed it later, it was like, yo, go do that. Go, like, or even some content that I put out that I didn't think was that dope. And I think we've all been in that situation where we put out something that's not really going to hit, and it blows up, where we don't find something valuable from our point of view, from something that we wrote down really quick, a recap, and we're like, we're just going to put this out, and it blows because we assume what people want, but we are not them. That one hit a lot because I'm like, oh, but I gotta be honest with myself with, are you too close to it? And I think I asked that a little bit more in this year of the things, the different projects that I'll be going through. Am I too close to it, or am I overthinking? Like, because I have that tendency too. I overthink a lot. And it sucks, but I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. But yeah, I like this one.
Love that clip. Yeah, that's a fire clip.
Now, the next one is going to really help those who are trying to figure out what market, what niche they can do in order to sell.
First you make your market, then you make your sales. This is a really important principle. Rather than going out and trying to sell stuff and shouting at people and saying, would you like to buy this thing that I've got? We don't want to do that. What we want to do instead is collect signals first and then sales. Glastonbury are the best at doing this. They do not let you buy a ticket to Glastonbury. All you're allowed to do is register your interest in going to Glastonbury. 700,000 people register their interest and there's only 130,000 tickets available. So what they do is they oversubscribed with those soft signals of interest. And then at the very last minute, they tell you, now is the moment, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you can buy your ticket. And they typically sell out in about half an hour. So it's incredible how fast they do this. The best entrepreneurs in the world are very, very good at signal collecting rather than selling.
Now, similar to you, this has been my big learning moment or learned lesson this year, right? It was realizing for especially, and you know what, this is going to be especially helpful for people who don't like sales. For those of you who dislike selling, this is the key adjustment that you need to make, because I realize sales is hard to do when you're trying to get people to buy something they don't want. But you know what's easy to do? When you are providing something to people that they already have interest in, right? It's just packaged in your expertise and your method of delivery and whatever the case may be, right? So that's the big thing that I realized. So a lot of that, what I focus on now is, rather than just collecting signals, I really collect data. I'm looking to learn, what would you want? Like, you as the customer, you as the consumer or the client, what do you care for? What do you feel would solve your problem? How would you like to see it done? Now, I'll make some adjustments to that. I'm not just going to take the customer's request and package that up and sell it right back to them. I don't think that has a lot of, what's the word? Like, you're not being ethical, right? It's not ethical to do that. But there's a lot of times I'll collect data and I say, you know what? Similar to what you said on the last clip, this is a gap that we're not seeing because we're too close to it. We're paying attention to something else. We're just overlooking it. But this data here makes sense. Now, who else is feeling this, right? Because you don't want to just have a very small sample size and adjust your whole business model to run in that direction. But it just so happens that this is the only person who has this complaint or this challenge. So who else is feeling this? And that's usually my step 2, is to look, okay, how large of a gap is this? Is there more people who are falling victim to the same issue? And if that's the case, we start adding our spin to it to say, all right, how would we solve this based on, the stance or the position that we're in to help people cover that gap? And can I be honest with you, selling or turning revenue, monetizing the brand has been much easier doing it that way than trying to force something into someone's hand, saying, hey, buy this, you must buy this, you got to buy this. Hey, did you buy it? You sure you don't want to buy it? It's like, don't do that. Just look for what they want and sell them what they want. That's the best way to get a sale for sure.
You know what this reminds me of? Jabari.
Yeah.
Jabari does this with R&B only live. So shout out to Jabari, who gave us this tip back then. So this next tip has everything to do about what type of audience you should pick and which one is going to bring you the best ROI.
When it comes to any problem in the world, there are people who throw their time at the problem in order to solve it, and there are people who've got loads of money and they want to throw money at the problem to solve it. And if you want to run a great business, you need to talk to people who've got money to throw at the problem. Just start by thinking, who has the highest return on investment? Is a Ferrari an expensive car?
Yes.
Depends who's asking. It depends who's looking at it.
Sure.
So to an average income earning person, a Ferrari is a very expensive car. To a billionaire, it's just a toy. It's no big deal. To an influencer who makes their money influencing young men, and that's it's just their marketing budget, right? It's just part of marketing. To someone who owns a luxury car company that rents the Ferrari out, it's CapEx. It's just a capital expense. So a Ferrari may or may not be an expensive car depending on who's buying it.
Let me tell you, from a person who loves to cater to the people and create products and services for every step of the way. The least amount of issues you are going to have is when you cater and target those who have money. And it sounds bad to the old me, right? What? But to be honest with you, they are the ones that understand their problems more and just needs a solution. And you have the solution to where for others, you're going to have to educate. You're going to have to hit certain trigger words to build them up to be your ideal client. To where if you already say, look, I am going for corporate who doesn't understand social media and they need content, and this is going to be an easy 10 to 20K a month. They're barely going to complain. They're expecting results, but they are not going to give you so much hassle and customer service situations like maybe a $20 product, right? Now, I love what he said as far as, we need to stop pretty much in I'll say in our culture, stop counting pockets, right? I love his example as far as the Ferrari. To some, that would be extremely expensive. For others, it's not really. It's either an expense or it's just a toy that, Nicky buys on network. But this is my toy that I buy at dealerships. You feel me? So we need to not count people's pockets or discredit who would actually buy our products and services based off the price. Because there's going to be somebody who is going to find value in it and honestly need it. For, let's say for my speakers, even breaking it down into more of a service instead of just a product, right? For my speakers, or those people who are interested into it, you may have a set price. And some more will say no to your price, period, that you even have a price to speak, then some will say yes. But those people who will say yes will pay for the flights, will pay for the hotel, will make sure transportation is there, will make sure if you have any drinks or food requirements that you may need, will probably take care of the footage because they paid the price that you asked for, because they understood the value, right? Where others, they're going to negotiate on the price. And for the negotiation, you're still going to have to talk to 4 other groups. You're going to have to come back and do a follow-up. You're going to maybe do a separate call with the main person just to keep the relationship for a negotiated price. Not even the price that you asked, negotiated price. Pick your audience correctly, and we all make mistakes. I've made mines, and there's in my head to where I'm now segmenting from the person who wants to love on the people and cater to the people. And then there is a segment of me that understands that business is business. And so I cater to a select group of people that is only a certain type of elite status, and I'm okay with that. To work with me, you have to have certain type of requirements, and there's a certain kind of budget. That's perfectly fine. But I do, because of who I am, do have the 37, the 97, the 100 a month situations. I have that journey, and I still feel fulfilled with that until I won't. And when I don't, I'll stop it. And then we went from idea to market to audience. Now we got to talk about this product ecosystem. What type of products do we need to have as personal brands?
product categories is the first one is called a gift, something you can give away for free, asking nothing in returns, no strings attached. So then the next product is something called a product for prospects. A product for prospects is an easy way to engage. It's a first thing that people can do. It could be an introduction workshop like my first business was all about. It could be an online diagnostic or an online scorecard or a test. From a business point of view, you want something that scales pretty easily and doesn't take up a lot of time. After the product for prospects, you've got your core offering. This is the main thing that you do. It could be a service, it could be a product, it could be an offer, it could be a productized service. And then the final product is called a product for clients. And this is something where you take people on an extended journey. You go on a long journey with them. You really look after them for years at a time. And it's different to the core product. So BMW has cars as its core product, but it has finance and insurance as its product for clients.
I love this part so much. You have no idea. I played it back at least 3 times when I heard it in the interview, because we have had multiple discussions around building a product ecosystem. And of course, the easiest example that we've gone to plenty of times is Apple. And we say, think about how they have physical products and they have the software and then the cloud base, and they have all of these different services that once you enter the Apple ecosystem, it becomes very difficult to leave for many different reasons, because the products are great, because it's convenient, because your friends are on there. They have an essence of, or a sense of community there that goes along with it as well. And so we were dabbling with the idea of converting that same concept for brands. And when I heard him break it down that way, it made perfect sense, right? I mean, some people will say that's similar to a standard funnel. But if you listen to that interview, I don't know if you caught that part where he says, I don't like the idea of calling my audience or the people that I want to serve, or I don't like the idea of putting them into a funnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even sound good, right? So I like his thought process on it. But that's a very easy way to think about, how do I attract attention or introduce myself to a wide audience? Well, what better way to do that than to introduce yourself with a free gift, right? Think about going to someone's house for the first time. It's always nice to walk in when you have something in your hand. It's like a home welcoming gift, if you will. Now, I think about that. Now, where people get confused sometimes is they say, well, if I have a niche audience, I don't need, I'm already focused. No, you're still introducing yourself to a wide array of people in that niche audience. And so what better way to introduce yourself than with a well-packaged gift? And you're then introducing them to the next thing that you do, or you're letting them learn a little bit more about you through that product that is for prospects. Even here, you're still not really selling anything. It's just a nice way to exchange value, but really let them know more about you. Because as we've heard people say, people don't like to really listen or sit and listen to somebody else talk about themselves. They want to see what's in it for them. And that's the essence of what that product is. It's that webinar, it's that masterclass that is delivering value to the audience that you potentially want to serve. But at the same time, you might showcase some of your product results or client testimonials and showcase a little bit about your process and what you do, so that they might say, okay, I like this person. I know them. I am interested in what they have to do. They seem pretty, like a stand-up person and credible in the space. Then once you put the offer out there, they have already spent enough time getting to know you that they're more likely to at least consider the offer. And if they don't right now, they'll at least consider it when they're really ready to make a decision or a purchase decision to solve that core problem. So just that ascension to get to that point, I thought was genius. Then when he broke down the fact that BMW has bigger profit share selling their insurance products than they do on cars, I was just like, that's brilliant.
That's
I
crazy.
love it. But the thing that he said at the end of that, which made a lot of sense, was like, hey, this is why you can't just data crunch your way in the business, because if you were to use a typical business approach in that scenario, you would say, well, it doesn't make sense for us to sell cars anymore. Let's just cut that out. It's like, no, the only reason why you have the opportunity to sell the finance product is because you sell cars. So that's pretty cool the way he broke that down. So fire.
Yeah. So hopefully you were taking notes. This literally gives you the whole system to creating a product for your brand. So shout out to Daniel Priestley. His book, Oversubscribed, is one of my favorite. What is it? The Key Person of Influence is another fire one. All his books are really dope. Go check that out. We'll probably have it in the show notes and in the description. Shout out to Ali Abdal and Chris Doe for the interview ones, the clips that we use. But yeah, go check out the rest of those interviews.